Hello everyone, welcome to PrepTalk podcast. I'm your host Vartika Bhandari and this is episode 6 of our segment Understanding APs. This episode focuses on AP Micro and Macroeconomics. Although both the subjects are prepared separately, since they fall into the same stream of economics and have a similar level of approach, we are compiling this podcast into one. For this podcast, we have with us Himanshi Sharma, our in-house commerce faculty. Hi Himanshi, how are you?
Hi Vartika, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good too. So, are you ready for the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
So, let's shoot our first question to you. Let's start off by understanding how AP Micro and Macro are different from each other.
So, if I'll tell you about AP Micro and Macro, they are the same branch of economics only. But the whole difference, if I'll tell you based on the content, then AP Micro is where we study about the economics at an individual level or a particular market. So, under this, we talk about demand, supply, and all those things. Whereas, if we talk about AP Macro, so AP Macro is studying economics for the whole nation, or you can say the international economics is also a part of AP Macro only. So here we talk about that how we can measure the unemployment level and inflation and deflation level in the nation. So basically we get to know about the how much equality and inequality is there in the nation. Second differentiation between micro and macro is that if a student is taking economics as a subject in their higher studies, so they eventually have to study both micro and macro. Let's say in a first semester or second semester, if the student is studying micro, then in the another semester they eventually have to study the AP macro as well, because macro is just extension of micro. So they eventually have to study both the subjects.
So, if a student is going ahead, let's say for economics major, so they will be studying both the topics.
Yes.
So, preparing for them in advance will be fruitful for their college journey ahead.
Yeah, actually it is going to be very beneficial for them, because if they are already preparing for AP micro and macro, so they are creating their base for the economics.
Right.
Because if they are taking economics as their major subject, then they are going to study the extension of the things which they are studying in AP micro and macro.
Right.
Yeah.
So going on to our next question, how is either of the APs important for a student who is planning to study abroad?
So a student who is preparing like either of the APs, so their benefits is basically divided into three folds. The first point here is that it helps them to create the strong base. Like if they are taking their economics as major subject or even not a major subject, it helps them to create the strong base if they are going to study it. Second point here is that it also helps them in waiving off the fee. Like they need not to pay for this particular subject, for whatever subject they are taking AP, they need not to pay the fee in their colleges. And third fold we do have here is that it also helps them to create a strong profile to get into a college, because as compared to other students, they are already having the much stronger knowledge of the subject. So all these 3 points help the student to put a strong profile in front of the colleges and helps them to get selected easily.
Right. Okay. So now that we are through with the importance of taking APs, right, that it helps with the college applications, it helps with waiving off your fees, and it also helps with you getting a strong hold of the subject before studying it in your colleges. So, what are some crucial topics according to you that students should take care of initially while preparing for the APs?
Vartika, if I talk about your AP Micro, so in AP Micro, firstly, student need to do the basic concepts and the demand and supply chapter. And most important chapters here we do have like the forms of market, where we talk about the perfect competition and imperfect competition and the graphs of the chapters. Second thing, we do have your factor market, because I have seen throughout the years and the previous exams that there is always one or two FRQ from these chapters. If we come to AP Macro, so in AP Macro, student need to do again the basic chapter, demand and supply is common in both. Specifically in macro, they have to do foreign exchange, balance of payment, and money and banking.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the chapter which they have to do before appearing for the exam.
So, coming to an end, what are some important tips according to you that students should keep in mind while preparing and while giving the exams?
Okay, if I talk about the tips to the students, so first thing is that while preparing for AP exams, they need to take care of their graphs, because in AP micro and macro, graphs play a very important part.
Right.
Yeah, and while drawing the graph, student need to take care of the labeling of the graph properly. Second thing, the calculation part, because in AP micro and macro, we have some numerical part and everything. So they need to take care of their calculation, because I have seen students doing very silly mistake while doing these things. Again, if we talk about while giving the exams, student usually lack while attempting their FRQ. They never take care of the time. So they need to take care of time while attempting the exam. Like usually, student waste their most of the time in their long FRQ. So whenever they are giving the exam, they need to their watch aside or something, and they need to see that they are attempting the paper with the time limit.
So I think these tips will really help students to get 5 and 5 on their economics APs. Okay, so is there anything else you would like to suggest the students? Like, we are moving towards the end of the podcast, so you better impart some knowledge according to you. Like, what are some holy grail tips from a commerce mentor?
Yeah. So my tip here is that usually students take AP micro and macro very lightly. They never take like classes regularly, and they are like that all other APs are much difficult for them as compared to AP micro and macro. So my suggestion is that yes, it is easier subject as compared to other APs, but if the students will not take it like seriously, then it's going to hamper their score in the AP final. And the whole thing, like while preparing this AP micro and macro, is practice and continuous revision, and that's all I'll suggest.
So, leaving you with the notion that practice makes you perfect and might land you a 5 on 5 in your AP's exam. We are coming towards the end of the podcast. Thank you for being here. Do subscribe and share the podcast further with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.